Hello, everybody. So, I was finishing filming the new. I can't close that in wrestling. I was finishing filming the new. What's it called? Right. I was finishing filming the new Super Flat Survival video. Which should be out soon. When I looked over at my recommended feed and I see Game Theory, FNAF, A Family Rebuilt, Ultimate Timeline Finale. And I was like, oh, and I had to go live immediately. I'm so glad I caught this. So yeah, let's watch it. So, some things I want them to touch on. Some things that I'm excited to see here, I guess. They said they had new insights, which I'm excited to hear about. I want to see how they incorporate the circus baby theory that they had, where like there's a lot of different like versions of I'm forgetting the child's name. It's not Emily. That's their last name. Their last name's Elizabeth, right? How Elizabeth Afton has like many different robot versions of themselves, which is something I completely believe. I want to see how they work it into the story. I'm excited to see what happens. All right, let's just get into it. I'm too excited. Oh wait, hit the wrong button. All right, so let's go.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, and the final part of my FNAF timeline, where today we're bringing our story to a close by talking about the most complicated and controversial part of the timeline, the part that I've been dreading most of all, the end. The moment where we're finally forced to come to some definitive and difficult answers trying to explain what the heck we were watching in Security Breach. The last two episodes have been about death. The death of Afton's family, the deaths of multiple children, the death of the franchise itself as Mike and Henry figuratively and literally burn it all down.
About REBIRTH?
Today's episode, though, and the current end of this franchise, is instead all about
the
return of old characters in new forms, and the controversial rebirth of a franchise entering the next era of its story. But before we hop into the timeline, due to scheduling conflicts, I won't be able to have any live talk back after this episode. I know, I promised one, I was really excited about it, but I just couldn't make it work with my schedule and all the other guests' schedules. That said, I still do plan on doing one over the coming weeks with special guests. Just make sure that you're subscribed.
I'm not going to live stream that because it'd be weird to live stream a live stream, but I'm definitely going to be watching it. So if you want to come watch it with me, go to the live stream. I'll probably set up a video afterwards just detailing like what I think.
Announcement as to when that's gonna happen. And now, without any further ado, we finally reach the end and a new beginning to our story.
Host Purple Guy.
Fazbear Entertainment was dead.
There is no need for you to return to work next week, as Fazbear Entertainment is no longer a corporate entity.
All debts had been paid, all assets redistributed. The company was outright dissolved. Even the memories of the horrors that had happened there started to fade away in the public consciousness. The people were gone too. William was dead. Henry was gone. A whole generation of young Emilys and Aftons had lost their lives to the horrors of the pizzeria. All of them collateral damage to the man in the bunny suit. Everyone the company had ever touched was dead and gone. Well, all except one.
Pay your child support, you deadbeats! I'm keeping the diamond ring. I also set the house on fire.
Clara Afton. She'd been there in the early days, back when things with
Nobody's really talked much about the mom, so I'm excited to see where it's going with this.
William were good. They'd had the perfect home, a thriving business, the ideal family. But shortly after their youngest son died, things started to change. William.
I always assumed the mom was killed and put into Ballora, but I guess Ballora was just created from the likeness of the mom. I guess that would make more sense instead of Afton killing his wife. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Had become distant.
That makes sense.
In his work, obsessive. She had watched him change from this irritatingly brilliant man that she had fallen in love with to a drunken monster struggling to hold himself together. And despite her trying to reach out to him in those desperate days, he was just too far gone.
Sorry. Maybe your walls and there's music in my halls. Love this song. It's an empty room, no more joy, an empty tomb.
Admit it,
It's so
you
good.
want it. to let me in.
For her sake, she had to leave the relationship, and from there, she largely faded into obscurity. A mystery from William's past.
Such a good song.
footnote in his history. And that was fine for her. She wanted to leave that part of her life behind. She
You
tried
go, girl.
to move forward, never wanting to hear the name Freddy
Slay Queen, yeah.
Fazbear again. A time defined by mistakes and broken promises. But then,
Let's go.
the paperwork started to arrive. As Fazbear Entertainment began to close as a corporate entity, suddenly her mail was flooded with notifications, requests, obligations. She had been there since the beginning, helping William in the early days of his business, and now, as a shareholder and sole living member of the Afton family, all copyrights and trademarks of both Afton Robotics and Fazbear Entertainment passed on to her. Memories of this past life that she had long left behind. Looking at the
I see where he's going with this. Okay. Okay. Interesting. I hope he has some good reasons for this.
the contracts, the memo.
Alright, so quick explanation. From the Circus Baby video that he put out a while ago, saying that Elizabeth Afton has many robotic stuff. I mentioned that at the beginning of the video. I think what he's saying here, or is going to be saying here, is Clara, I think the name was. I don't know if that's a confirmed name or not. I don't know. But the mom, I think what he's going for is the mom reinstates Freddy Fazbear as a company under Circus. I don't know. Let's just keep watching. Let's just see what happens.
Begin to reopen. The
This is
regrets of a happy family that had been torn away from her. William had always been brilliant. That's what had attracted her to him in the first place. But he'd also been too blinded by obsession and pride. He was too jealous, too petty, too unable to actually
My
see
designs, my OC, do not steal. That's funny. That's
bigger
funny.
picture. But now, holding the paperwork that contained decades of heartbreak and trauma, she realized it was her turn. She was holding the power. This was her chance. And one thought resonated in her head. I will put them back together.
Whoa. Hold on. MatPat, slow down. You can't just throw those words out. What's
I
that
will put them
about?
all back together.
Interesting. Okay, so Clara's a lot more important than we previously thought, is what MatPat's trying to say, which is, I mean, I'm down for it, but
She would be the
It's
one to
definitely
rebuild
new.
this family, to rebuild the pieces of that shattered life, to reclaim the kids that Fazbear had stolen from her. But how? Looking at William's work now laid out before her, she knew that he had been onto something, collecting remnant, robotic humanoids, digital conscience transference. The pieces were all in place, they were just scattered, fragmented. It was almost like there were too many ideas going in too many different directions. It was such an important idea that she
Nice.
reiterated that point to herself. There were too many ideas going in too many different directions. That said, there
Okay, that's a poke at Steelwool Studios and Scott Cawthon just not having a direct storyline.
had to be a way to save it all.
That's
She
funny.
just needed to put it all back together. But how? To rebuild her family, she would first need to rebuild the franchise that had stolen them away from her. With ownership over the
That's
characters, their licenses, the technology patents, and the Fazbear name, she converted the corporation back to an LLC, a structure for
Uh-huh.
smaller business.
That's the video I was talking about down here in this corner. Yeah, he mentioned all this in this video, which I'm all go with.
Businesses that are usually family owned. The irony was fitting. From there, she would need remnant, and lots of it. Remnant was the key. Clearly, in the later years of his life, William had been using Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals as a remnant farm, sending robots to kids' birthday parties in the hopes of nabbing bits of the stuff here and there. But clearly, it wasn't enough. He had, what, like 4, maybe 5 animatronics going out every week? No. It was a decent idea, but
Maybe 5? Talking about like Mangle or something? What? What? Maybe why do you say maybe 5? Is Bonbon an animatronic? We're talking about the Bitty Babs. Those count? What
to
is
get
this?
the remnant they
mean
required, it
5?
needed scale. Dozens, hundreds of animatronics all out there, all
Why is Chica in that list? Chica isn't a fun time. What do you mean?
gathering remnant from unsuspecting
Why was
customers.
Chica
But
in that
to do that would
infographic?
require help, something William would never ask for. William had kept every
I'm just poking fun at him. I'm not actually like angry or anything. Just want to let you guys know that.
everything in-house. His obsession with control limited him. Clara, though, she wasn't nearly that precious. A plan like this required partners, people outside of Fazbear to do the heavy lifting. So she contacted a mid-sized delivery company, DLZ Shipping Solutions, to help build replicas of all the original animatronics. And with meal delivery apps being all the rage, why not an animatronic delivery service?
This is FNAF AR, the FNAF game I know the least about. It's weird. Let's see what he says here
to
about
celebrate
this.
your birthday, your Halloween party. How about a 4th of July picnic? We'll invite Liberty Chica and 4th of July Freddy over. She would make sure that they made skins for every occasion. Chocolate Bonnies for Easter, Shamrock Freddy's for St. Patrick's Day, Dia de los Muertos Chicas. And thus, the Fazbear Funtime...
You counting those as canon? Really? 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 You're saying they're canon? I mean, I guess having like Jack-o'-lantern Chica in Ultimate Custom Night, which is a mainline game, is a bit weird. But like Liberty Chica isn't in there. Easter Bonnie isn't in there. Shamrock Freddy? No. Dia de los Muertos Chica? No. I don't like that. I don't like that they're canon. That's weird.
Service was born.
That's right. With the Fazbear
Markiplier, yeah.
You'll never be alone again. You'll always have someone watching your back.
Was it ridiculous? Absolutely. Was it a sellout? No doubt. It was exactly the sort of thing that will...
That is sick. I've never seen that model before. Hold on. Steampunk Balloon Boy?
Was it a sellout?
Wait.
No doubt. It was exactly...
Look at that. Oh, let's just take a second to admire that model. Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. I love steampunk. All right, let's keep going. That is so
William
cool.
would have hated, but it needed to be done to get enough remnant. Normally, the novelty of wearing an animatronic wore off after like what, 1, maybe 2 times. But with new skins for new holidays, suddenly you had yourself an animatronic perfect for every occasion. It would keep people hooked. It would keep them ordering the latest and greatest that Fazbear Entertainment LLC had to offer, and all the while they'd be collecting and returning the remnant back to her.
I don't like that, but I mean it. It explains the skins, but also, like, I don't like it.
In a word,
No.
it was brilliant. There was just one problem with it. No one trusted the Fazbear name. The company's brand was still mud in the public eye. No one would want to hire animatronics from the restaurant franchise known for murdering children. Nothing kills a party quite like the threat of death, you know. So she needed to find a way
Orlando
to discredit the stories that had come before. She needed to win back the public's affections, reactivate some nostalgia for the spooky stories of their childhoods. She needed a game. Multiple games, in fact.
They lied to us. They lied to all of us. They told us that the whole point of this VR game was to undo the bad PR done by a rogue indie game developer. But that's not true at all. Those indie games were designed to conceal and make light of what happened. This isn't just an attempt to rebrand. It's an elaborate cover-up.
Struggling game developers were a dime a dozen online. Working on their magnum opus between shifts.
This is scaring me. Because I don't believe that Grandma Freddy is possessed by Michael Afton. Really? Interesting. Okay. I think story-wise, it makes sense to like bring all the characters like back together, like the crying child in Gregory. Like I don't think the crying child is Gregory by a long shot. I think he's just like, and Gregory isn't a robot. Gregory's just like a stand-in, and then I guess I don't know, he'll talk about it in this, but what I was saying is the rest of this video is very long and we're already on FNAF VR. There's one more game, it's Security Breach, and like VR probably isn't gonna last. Oh yeah, VR lasts like a couple minutes, so Security Breach is gonna be the rest of this video. Holy cow, that's insane. Alright, do I believe that Grandma Freddy's possessed by Michael Afton? Yeah. You might be noticing there's a very long delay, so I am reading your questions as they come in, but you're probably hearing them a while later. I don't know. I feel like narratively it does make sense for Glamrock Freddy to be possessed by Michael Afton, but there are reasons for him to be, there are reasons for him not to be. Security breach is just one big mess of tangled spaghettios, so I don't understand it. Let's keep watching what he says about VR because I'm interested about this. But
Dollar General. So she found one.
It's
Steve
very
just
interesting.
picked him out of obscurity.
Steve.
Right mix of desperate and doofus, willing to say and do anything for a couple extra bucks. And he
Steve Coffin.
fell right in line, as expected, delivering stupid little things with dumb generic names like Mangle's Quest, Balloon Boy's Air Adventure, Five Nights at Freddy's. Bad gameplay with even worse graphics, but hey, they got the job done. People were suddenly talking about the clues inside of these things, searching for the hidden lore. They were actively making jokes about dead kids at pizzerias. Her husband's twisted history of serial murder.
You don't like the theory. Is there a reason that you don't like the theory?
Because to a mere Nancy Drew mystery.
It is a very it's almost as controversial as Gregory being a robot, which he isn't. But I'd like to see why you don't think Glamrock is possessed by Michael after him.
To be solved. The plan had worked. Freddy Fazbear's was suddenly more
possessed by Jeremy. That's interesting. The beta tester. I guess narratively it doesn't make much sense. Like, why would Jeremy see Gregory out in the audience, because we know that Glamrock does, we know Freddy does, and then possess Freddy, or like get activated inside Freddy or whatever, and then Freddy shuts down. Gregory climbs into his stomach hatch for some reason, and then wakes up. Why would Glamrock Freddy or Jeremy in this situation? I don't know. Security breach is weird. I don't know.
more popular than
I don't know
Things
anymore.
were going shockingly well.
Michael
Her
is a
take-
soul. Well, I mean, all the kids are souls, and like Michael gets scooped. So like after Michael gets scooped, where does he go? You don't think Michael is a soul? I mean, everybody has a soul. Michael is a corpse, right? But it's a corpse inhabited by a soul. That's why the corpse is. No, it's inhabited by Circus Baby and Friends. Ennard. It's inhabited by Ennard. Watch the rest of the video. Okay.
Over in reboot of the franchise.
Let's see what Matt Pett says
Suddenly
about it.
infused with cash, she
Let's
built
see.
the largest, most ambitious project yet, the Mega Pizzaplex. William had always
Hi,
been
how are
so
you? I'm new.
visionary.
Yeah, I don't
Always
recognize
thought
you.
so
Hello,
small
Smiles. Welcome to the
scale. He was
stream.
careful to a fault.
A lot of
Not
new
her,
people
though.
have been
She
showing
knew
up for
that
the
this
channel, and I
latest
love it.
project needed to be big. It
Thanks for
needed to
coming.
be flashy. It needed to be a palace for children, a place that got people talking and checking out the latest in Fazbear products. So with a steady supply of
Wow, FNAF VR lasted like a minute and a half. That was very fast. Just-
It was finally time.
I'm sure
The
they'll
stage
revisit
was
it
set.
later,
It was
but-
time to get to her real goal.
'Cause they like
literally
happen at like around the same
rebuilding
time-ish.
a family.
Didn't even like talk about Vanessa yet.
March 2035. The first was obvious. The crying
is
child, her
interesting.
little boy, the one that was the first to get ripped away from her. She'd seen down in his bunker that William had gotten very close to replicating artificial humans.
Is he still set on Gregory as a robot? Is
using
he
animatronic
still?
technology.
Is
So
he
that's
still?
exactly what you
Well,
would
let's
do.
see if he can
Rebuild
convince me.
her
Let's
boy
see.
From the ground up using
Jeremy is being controlled by Glitch Trap. Yes, because in FNAF VR, where we get stuff inside Fazbear's suit, Jeremy is inside Glimmer Freddy for a while. You get stuffed inside Freddy Fazbear's suit, and Jeremy been inside Glimmer Freddy for a
robotic
while.
parts.
Interesting.
His shaggy
Okay.
brown hair, his
That's
favorite
definitely a
striped
theory. I'd
shirt,
have to
even
look
down to
into it a
small
bit more.
details that no one would
But
notice,
that's
like
interesting.
the band-aid on his left knee. Williams' research had even found
Wait.
details that no one would notice.
So this is from the character encyclopedia. So I just want to look over it because anything from the character encyclopedia is
Robotic
interesting.
technology. And so that's exactly what
Um,
you would do. Rebuild her boy from the ground up using robotic parts.
Okay.
His shaggy brown hair, his favorite striped shirt, even down to small details that no one would notice, like the band-aid on his left knee. Williams'
Okay,
research had
so
even
you
found
are
ways of
saying
making
Gregory's
animatronics that
rebuild.
could bleed and
Jeremy's been performing inside
Process-
Glamrock Freddy again and again and
was
again and
food,
again and
making
again.
them
Interesting.
virtually
Okay, maybe.
indistinguishable from a typical human. He would never have
I agree
any
that there
idea
are
what he
robot
actually
kids
was
in this
unless he was
universe. I just don't
explicitly
think
told. The
Gregory
only
is
things that could
one.
possibly ruin the illusion were any overrides to his internal systems. If something were to say interfere with the cameras that he had in his eyes, or cause some sort of a core reboot to his hard drive, or x-ray his metallic bones, then yeah, he would be exposed. But otherwise, to the outside world, he was just your typical
Okay, so you are saying he's a robot. Okay. Okay.
Normal human boy. She worked down in the bowels of the Pizzaplex, giving him life, but it was one.
Oh, I thought that was just a misspelling. I thought you were saying watch the rest of the video, but it's Rye Toast. Interesting. Okay. Rye Toast, Glamrock, Freddy. Maybe I'll watch it after we finish this video.
Cry from the rest of the franchise.
Oh, I like this guy. I didn't know he was Rye Toast. I like that guy. He's good. All right. Let's let's continue.
One thing to build him was another to help him remember his identity. He died so young, so early in their
Sticky
history
note room?
that there was no preserved memories.
Sticky note room?
No documentation that she could just download into his digital brain. So bit by bit, she trained him, forcing him to remember who he was. In a
Sticky
corner
note
of the
room?
room, she even made a makeshift
Yep.
dinner table, a reminder of their.
Oh, you're saying Clara made it. Oh, okay. That's
The
kind of
family
freaky, but
recreated. Two
sure.
brothers, a sister, a father, and the mother at the head of the table. The one in charge, the one in command, the one bringing all.
I guess that does make sense. The mother's at the head of the table.
All of this to fruition.
that's-
but
that
his
is
progress was
interesting.
admittedly slower than she would have liked. At first, he could only communicate through simple ones and zeros, then rudimentary drawings and crude letters. But bit by bit, images of
Makes
his
FNAF
past
content
life
about things.
started to
Yeah,
come through.
yeah, I heard about that.
Balloons, colors, houses,
I
bears,
know,
and
he's
faces,
fun.
birthday parties, all for me. Gregory was alive. As the robot boy embraced her, she felt a warmth that she hadn't in decades. This was the
Gregory being a robot, I guess, makes sense in the way he's describing it now, but still a bit
joy
weird.
that she'd been working towards. This was what it was all for. Her son, back in her arms again. The plan was working. She had to keep going. Next was William. If the family was truly going to be put together, she would need him. And she knew exactly where he was. In the ruins of that old Freddy Fazbear's
Yep.
pizza place where Henry had trapped him. In fact, that's specifically why she insisted on building the Pizzaplex there over the sinkhole. It's the
That makes
best place
sense.
to hide what her true intentions were with the entire operation. Digging through the wreckage, she found him. He was right where she thought he'd be. Seeing the putrid shell of the Springtrap suit, though, was not something she was prepared for. The rotting corpse of William Afton was disgusting. Scorched flesh fused into the fur
Burn
lining,
trap.
hollow black sockets where eyes once were. A smell that reeked of burned carbon and bloody iron. He was no longer flesh. He was just the tangled sinews of a creature that was once called human. How far this brilliant man had fallen. It was clear that her work was cut out for her on this one. Afton was practically lifeless. The man may not have been able to die, but he was about as close as you could come. And his body would need a lot of reconstruction. Replacement arms and endoskeleton reinforcements were the top priority.
I
He'd be
see
pulled
where
from
this
their new
is
line of glam rock
going.
animatronics. She'd have to see if they had any spare Bonnie parts lying around that they could steal. In the meantime, though, she threw
Haha, and these spare body parts. Yeah. Okay, so that's okay. Yeah. So that's how Bonnie that's how Bonnie dies. That makes sense. I agree with that 100%. I do believe Grandma Freddy was brought down in the underground of FNAF 6 Pizza. Freddy was being manipulated by Vanny and Burntrap, and instead Burntrap controlled Glamrock Freddy. Okay.
that was once her husband into a life support pod infused with aerosolized remnant to help keep him stable. But more important than recovering his body was recovering his mind. In his current state, he was comatose, an empty shell. Severe brain damage starts at temperatures over 108 degrees Fahrenheit. 42 degrees Celsius, and years of repeated fires had burned his brain to goo. Gone was the brilliant, frustrating mind that had drawn her to him in the first place. But she had a plan. Unlike her darling boy Gregory, Afton had found ways to record his consciousness. Fundamentally, the brain is only a series of electrical connections after all, so why couldn't you replicate that in the form of a standard circuit board? In essence, you could create a digital...
That's why Ruined DLC Glamrock Freddy is being controlled by Burntrap and Michael is not Glamrock Freddy. Interesting. I'd have to look into that a bit more.
And one thing she knew
Do some
about
more
William,
research on
he was
that.
nothing.
We
if
don't
not
know much about the
cautious.
DLC.
A planner, someone who
So-
had backup plans to his backup plans.
Whenever somebody mentions the DLC to like prove something, I never really like support it because like we don't know anything about the DLC. We have what, 2 teasers? Like one teaser is just like a poster with a little girl, a bunch of security cameras, and another one is just like an item that we're gonna get in the game. Like we don't know anything
Sure
about
enough,
the DLC
there it
really.
was, buried in piles of old animatronic CPUs, a record of Afton himself. but he needed someone to test it.
Someone was definitely here during the night. It had to have been the client. I mean, they sent us that stuff in the first place with no explanation, told us to scan it, said it would expedite the process so we wouldn't need to program any pathfinding ourselves.
Unlike the other games that you have made in the past, this one had a different purpose. This wasn't about PR, it was about getting William back up and running, spreading his virus to the masses.
You acknowledge that Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for accidental digital consciousness transfers, real-world manifestations of digital characters.
She hired a new developer, Silver Parasol Games, to scan the boards and bring her husband into the system. And because of the immersive nature of VR, William's consciousness would be able to merge with the player, giving him a new body, a new agency. There was just one complication. Afton's hold wasn't as powerful as she had hoped. He wasn't able to gain complete control. The first trial run, Jeremy, was so desperate to escape from his grasp that he sliced his own face off with a paper shredder. Messy. Afton's followers were reluctant, to say the least.
Right, so Jeremy is dead. I just don't understand why he would possess Glamrock Freddy.
But it was the second attempt that looked like it had the potential to
Glamrock Freddy is going to be evil, and Freddy is not Michael because it would make sense if Freddy was Michael because Michael can fight the virus, but no, I think Glamrock Freddy is not Mike. You know, narratively it makes sense for Michael. Narratively it doesn't make sense for Jeremy, but
birds with one stone.
I'll keep
Enter
watching.
Vanessa. Mrs. Afton wanted a surrogate daughter. Her darling Elizabeth would have been a young woman at this point if she had lived. And Clara wanted someone who wasn't Elizabeth but could be just like her. Could she have just rebuilt her like Gregory? Sure, but she decided against it because she wanted an actual human mother-daughter connection. Well, that, and it would be redundant and narratively unsatisfying to have two robot kids in the same family. What could she say? William had put a lot of tools on the table for her to use, and she was planning on using them all. Plus, Elizabeth had always been so loyal to Daddy.
Did Matt Pat just throw the entire idea of the tons of different versions of Elizabeth out the window, just straight out the window?
It was time to give her a second chance.
Okay,
a true
sure.
choice. And Vanessa seemed to be the perfect candidate to fill the role.
Your dad's name was Bill? Your dad didn't play fair, did he? He used to make your mum look bad in court. He manipulated you. I know your mum after she lost the custody case. I was supposed to be a girl.
Righto, so you'll explain it. Yeah, I have the video queued up. We'll watch it after
VR game
this.
development company that was part of her plan to bring back William. But more importantly, Vanessa checked all the correct boxes. Right age, blonde, green eyes with a fondness for flowers and the outdoors. In many ways, it was her daughter all over again. Except it wasn't just looks and personality. What really mattered was Vanessa's mind. Underconfident, coming from a broken home, motherless, able to be manipulated. Yes, she would do nicely. She
Bro,
would
I
be
hate
the one
robot
to
kids.
save
Yeah,
dear
same.
old Daddy, just as the real Elizabeth would have wanted.
I will make you proud, Daddy.
While testing the VR game, William's digital consciousness merged with Vanessa. Oh,
Imagine
sure, she
young kids
fought,
actually
fragmenting
doing that.
Afton's code into a series of tapes hidden across the
That'd be
game,
weird.
trying to do web searches to regain control over her life, but it wasn't enough. She was weaker than Jeremy. She was a thrall that, despite occasional moments of lucidity, had to obey. And with Vanessa, it was a 2-for-1 deal. She was getting a daughter back, while also bringing her husband one step closer to reactivation. She just had to make sure that Vanessa was headed the right way. The reborn Gregory was an expert hacker, part of the benefits of being an Afton and a robot. So Clara had him keeping tabs on Vanessa,
Okay.
her emails and trailing her therapy sessions to ensure the future Elizabeth was falling in line. If any of the therapists started to ask too many questions, they were promptly dismissed from their positions. And while Gregory kept tabs on Vanessa's personal life, Mrs. Afton made sure to clear a path for her professionally. With Silver Parasol's collapse at the hands of the Anomaly, she then had the possessed Vanessa bring the contaminated circuit boards to DLZ shipping and the Fazbear Funtime service. More glitches, more Remnant, more Afton. But it was her last move that was the best. In a true masterpiece of poetry, she brought Vanessa over
Well,
to
we're
be
only like
chief
halfway
security
through.
officer at the Pizzaplex.
Holy
a true
cow.
family tradition to don the hat and badge, and all it took was a
Yep.
recommendation from the top as well as some emails marked for deletion. Sure, Vanessa didn't have relevant experience for the job, but when it comes directly from the CEO, does it really matter? Husband, son, daughter. A corpse, a robot, a human. All that was left was Michael. Poor, troubled Michael. The boy that killed her youngest. The one that
Yeah.
would spend years trying to make his guilty
All right, let's see what he says about Michael.
conscience
see what he
right
says.
again.
Tales from the Pizza Place,
Self-professed
yep.
protector. While she knew she needed him to complete the family, something told her that the problem had already solved itself. Something had shifted when using Glamrock Freddy to excavate the buried pizza place.
I have been here before. I found myself.
That's a great model of him.
First time when I cleared the path. I have changed.
Gregory's patient 46 and is possessed by glitch trap. Yeah, that's an interesting and weird, quirky detail. I don't think he's possessed by glitch trap. I think he's just being, brought around by Clara. I don't think he's possessed. Hello, Withered Bonnie. Hey, that's a nice name. That's very in theme for this stream. Nice. I don't think he was saying that Gregory is possessed by, glitch trap. That just doesn't make sense at all. I don't think that's true. No. I don't think that's what he said.
My friend.
It does make sense that he's patient 46, though. I think Gregory makes the most sense in the role of patient 46. He doesn't check all the boxes, but then again, nobody checks all the boxes. He just checks the most boxes.
Are here,
Makes the
but
most
I can
sense.
Protect you. I am not me.
Maybe it was the remnant that had coursed through Michael's veins. Maybe it was the spirit of Michael living on as a protector.
Hold on. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I'll be right back. I'm streaming right now, but what? Whoa, oopsies. Sorry about that. I'm back now. We're at 17:39. Sorry about that. My dad just told me I had lunch ready, so I'm back now. People theorize that Gregory is possessed by glitch trap, and I can be a kid hacked pig's pets. I don't think he's possessed by glitch trap personally. It's an interesting theory, but if he was possessed by glitch trap, what is the entire security breach game? Why wouldn't Gregory just be like, "No, I'm gonna go down to this pizzeria underneath and save my person who's possessing me," that? It doesn't check out.
Maybe it was the remnant that had coursed through Michael's veins. Maybe it was the spirit of Michael living on as a protector. But he was there, somewhere inside of Glamrock Freddy. She could feel it. And just like that, she'd won. She'd done it. Sure, there were still some kinks to work out.
Yeah, so he does think that Michael is inside Glamrock. Wait, hold on.
The first time when I cleared
I'm just gonna
the
watch this
path,
section.
I
I'm gonna
have
be a bit quiet.
changed.
Just
My
really listen to
friends
it.
are here, but I can protect you. I am not me.
Maybe it was the remnant that had coursed through Michael's veins. Maybe it was the spirit of Michael living on as a protector. But he was there, somewhere inside of Glamrock Freddy. She could feel it.
I guess I think it's pretty good. We'll have to watch the theory you were thinking of, but I think that's a pretty solid idea. No, I'm saying Glamrock Freddy being Michael does make sense. It's a very solid theory. I'm saying Gregory being possessed by glitch trap doesn't make sense.
It's like
That's
that.
what I'm saying.
She'd won. She'd done it. Sure, there were still some kinks to work out, some final brainwashing of Vanessa, some rehabilitation of William, but they were there. Finally, all together again under one roof. The Aftons reunited. A happy ending. And that's how it could have ended. That's how it should have ended, had it not been for a few unanticipated developments. For one,
He's not going to mention how Bonnie was attacked by Monty. Maybe he'll mention that a bit later in the episode.
something was just wrong with the Pizzaplex. Almost as if the entire building.
Is he also going to mention where the heck Foxy is? Because that's something I've never heard him mention. Because Foxy is in promotional material, but in the Pizzaplex, there is a Pirate's Cove with Foxy on billboards and stuff. But I don't understand when you say it doesn't make sense that Michael isn't in Glamrock, because it does make sense. It brings the entire family together in one place. It explains why Glamrock Freddy, I want Glamrock Freddy to be a sentient AI robot and not being possessed. There are no sentient AI robots in this entire game. in this entire game franchise. But there are robots who are possessed. There are tons of those. There's no sentient AI, really, so it doesn't make sense for there to suddenly be sentient AI. And then if there's no sentient AI, if it is a sentient AI, where would Michael be? Because everybody else is here. It'd be weird to just leave out Michael. Then again, they did leave out Michael in the character encyclopedia. But still, it'd be a bit weird.
Building was haunted, possessed. Puppet plushies hiding on ceilings, behind crates, places that they had no earthly way of belonging. Staff bot.
Oh, also, sorry, bit off track. It's on the theory train. I'm planning on doing a theory about Minecraft because there's a new pottery shard that appeared. It's called the Mourner, and it has a picture of the Warden on it, and it's really weird. So if you have any information about that, contact me. But sorry, let's continue with FNAF.
Down their eyes, acting like they were being
Yeah, it should be explained in the Ruin DLC. We'll see who's correct in the
puppeteered by
DLC.
some sort of a nightmare. Even their sounds had the echo of nightmares long past.
No, I'm saying Glamrock Freddy is possessed. The other animatronics are possessed by Glitchtrap, or at least being controlled by Glitchtrap. Where's his body then? It was discarded after if I remember correctly, it was discarded in Pizzeria Simulator after it was discarded in Sister Location Custom Night after Ennard shoots out of the body. It's just discarded and left on the street. I don't think anything's come from the body. The body possessed itself. Oh, I'm an idiot. Yeah. We'll listen to that in a second. It's a really cool fact. It's possessing the body. I'm not sure where the body. That is a good point. That is a good point. No, the body burned in the Pizzeria Simulator fire. That's where the body is. And from what we've seen, souls that are trapped in bodies when they're burned in the Pizzeria Simulator fire don't disappear. They come back. They always come back. So that's where the body is. It's probably still in the building, if not completely burnt to a crisp.
Even their
Burn Trap.
Their sounds.
Except it wasn't protected by a bunny suit, so it's probably very, very hurt and dead. Wait, no. If it was burned in the same building where Burn Trap is, it's at the Pizzaplex, which just makes more sense. So the spirit came up from the body, which is underneath the Pizzaplex, and possessed. That makes sense. That just makes sense. Glamrock Freddy will be evil in the DLC. Let's stop talking about the DLC because we don't know anything about the DLC. Ruin is trying to explain that Glamrock Freddy is not possessed by Michael Optimus. Glamrock Freddy is evil. We don't know that Glamrock Freddy is evil in DLC. We have 2 teaser images, and neither of them have Glamrock Freddy in them, so we don't know that Glamrock Freddy is evil in the DLC. We don't know that at all. Let's listen to this closely.
It was as though
yeah, it is very faint, but it is there. I'll replay it so y'all can hear it again.
Nightmares long past. It was as though
it's there. It's very faint at the very end. I think Michael's possessing the Blob. Okay, Blob is an entirely new can of worms. Michael's possessing the Blob. Interesting. I think Matt Pat and the Theorist team think that the Blob is just, it's not being possessed, it's being controlled by a bunch of agony. Let's see what he says about the Blob, though. That's interesting, though.
As long as her husband
that would make sense, but there seems to be multiple souls inside the Blob, or multiple things inside the Blob, because there's so many different heads and faces that are active in there. So
around it too would linger.
I think if Michael is in the Blob, it'd be Michael and a bunch of other things.
Oh, it wasn't just
I'm
one
not gonna
body,
say
but it was
souls
in the
because
essence
it wouldn't
of the
be,
building
but
itself.
a bunch of
She had
other
seen stories of
sentient
houses built on
things,
burial grounds
angry
getting possessed by
things.
angry spirits, but she'd never assumed that it could be real. Then again, in a world of living spirit metal and mind-controlling glitches, who was she to be so judgmental? The whole thing was ridiculous. Why would this be the line that she refused to cross? After all, the Pizzaplex was built over the burial ground of angry spirits, but it was the power cords that finally convinced her that
You are talking about the power chords. Okay, so this is something that FNAF, not FNAF, the theorist, said about in his like I solved security breach videos. And at the time, Matt Pat seemed really reluctant to call this an actual piece of evidence, but I thought it was always pretty good. So we'll see what he says.
Was wrong.
I mean, he wants to get revenge on his father, right? Like Michael's agony is in the Blob. That does make
Suddenly,
sense.
these chords were
Michael's agony being in the Blob makes sense, but I think his soul is in
striped
Glam
black
Rock.
and white
At the moment.
security puppet from generations ago.
It's definitely a reach, but it makes sense.
Very foundations of this place,
For
the
me,
materials and wires that constituted it were rebelling against her, against the Aftons, against the quest to bring them all together again. And it was being helped by something else, something slithering through the building.
It's the
If they were
Blob.
Connected, she
Here it
couldn't be
is.
Sure, but a blob
Talking about
of
the
living
Blob.
wires could be heard oozing through the walls, stealing pieces and
Yeah. So what I've always thought, or what I've picked up, is the Blob is collecting different bits and pieces from all the different display cabinets in Rockstar Row, and also and like is collecting them to like create like a form for
Parts of
themselves, sort of like Ennard
old
does.
animatronics showcased in Rockstar Row. She could only assume that it was a byproduct of all the remnant they'd been collecting. From Afton's testing, she knew that both light and dark remnant existed. One of
Light and
positive
dark.
emotions, and
Interesting.
the other
Okay.
created from anguish, anger, agony. Perhaps
Agony.
this thing was an amalgamation of all the darkest parts of
Far more painful than yours. Michael's soul is in heaven because he said he wants to rest, right? That does, I guess so.
Korea's history. A collection
I
of the
guess it makes
hatred
sense.
still housed inside these
Would
defunct
Michael go to heaven?
endoskeletons and
I mean, I
exosuits.
guess.
As long as
Yeah,
it was
makes
left
sense.
alone, it seemed to be harmless. But if any Afton outside of Michael got too close, it would lash out wildly. Even young Gregory, looking to punish the family that had been complicit in its horrible creation. Little did she know, though, that Gregory should have been her biggest concern. That bringing the
Gregory.
family together would have some unforeseen consequences.
What are you doing,
Gregory
Gregory?
was normally the goodest of boys.
need
She
to
had
vent.
literally built him that way.
He's
But
the goodest
lately,
of
he'd been
boys.
disappearing more and more often, disobeying her orders, requests. She knew that he loved playing on the arcade machines once the Pizzaplex closed, being so good as to top the leaderboard on practically all of them. But
Yeah, he does. GGY,
lately,
Gregory.
he was nowhere to be found. She suspected his absence had to do with Glamrock Freddy's failed performance the other night, when he malfunctioned live on stage. Almost as though the core programming of Freddy responded to seeing this rebuilt small boy. Almost like it awakened something inside of him. She'd have to make sure that Vanessa was on the lookout for him. But she'd soon come to learn that Vanessa wasn't enough. Whether it was the influence of the nightmare puppet or a reawakened hatred of animatronics seated deep in Gregory's code, something had caused him to rebel. To rip apart each animatronic in the Pizzaplex. Bit by bit, this boy was tearing down the empire that she'd so painstakingly built. Freeing Vanessa from her mind control, destroying the remains of Afton in the basement, setting Glamrock Freddy loose. As her carefully created world crumbled around her one more time, she began to plot her revenge. She would have to bring them all to ruin. And there you have it, my friend.
Oh, to ruin! Oh, nice ending. That's fun. I like the idea that Glamrock Freddy is an animatronic. There's a lot of explanation in this video, which makes sense. Glamrock Freddy is just an animatronic that's programmed to protect kids, and I like the idea of Glamrock Freddy is possessed by Jeremy. It would make sense. Okay, interesting. Got
Nearly
it.
a decade in the making, my FNAF
you
timeline
say.
for where the franchise is here in 2023. The year of Fazbear Frights, by the way. As always, it wouldn't be right for me to finish without going over some of the more
Really?
controversial
Oh, interesting.
takes that I just handed out. I think we can all agree that this part of the timeline was always going to be the hardest. So let
Yeah.
me just break down some of the major
Definitely.
points. First of all, the biggest swing of this episode, and obviously the one that everything else rests upon,
Clara.
Mrs. Afton being the
Clara.
CEO of Fazbear Entertainment LLC. Here's why I went with this route. Now, first and foremost, the head of Fazbear Entertainment is the single biggest mystery that we're meant to solve at this point in the lore.
Yep.
The Ultimate Guide brings it up repeatedly. Who's running the show? Who is okaying these decisions? And in the security breach memos, we get multiple mentions of someone manipulating things from the top down.
Yep.
Whoever this is, they
In
are
a
the
previous thing, you thought it was a robot version of Elizabeth.
person driving
if I
forward
remember.
every other
Perhaps right.
facet of late-stage FNAF lore here. They're the puppet master who's hiring the indie dev. They're the ones relaunching the brand, building the Pizzaplex over the burial ground. So everything at the end of the timeline relies on this one singular answer. Now, as I see it, there are two possibilities here. One, an adult robot Elizabeth, like we see older versions of robot kids in the fourth closet, or Mrs. Afton. Could it be someone completely new to the franchise? Absolutely yes, but in a game with so many returning faces and repeated themes, it would be pretty random and arbitrary. So, between these two girl bosses, who then would it be? Well, Elizabeth always wants to please her daddy, so she'd be most likely wanting to bring him to life. But then, what's Vanessa's role in all of this? Vanessa is clearly meant to be a parallel for Elizabeth. Same hair, same eyes, similar backstories, but if the main goal is getting the Afton family back together, which seems to clearly be the case in Security Breach, then there's no need for Vanessa to be involved at all. We already have Elizabeth running the show. It would also mean that we suddenly have two robot kids running around, which feels narratively repetitive and quite frankly kind of dumb. Now look at Mrs. Afton. We know next to nothing about her outside of any clues that we can get from Immortal and the Restless and Ballora's song. But what her being head of Fazbear does is make every other piece of the lore fit. Suddenly, you can have one of every other type of character. One robot kid in Gregory, one brainwashed human in Elizabeth / Vanessa, one OG corpse in William, and one possessed animatronic in Mike. Narratively, it makes
Yes? I know, I said it was streaming and couldn't do something. Sorry, I'll be right down. Sorry,
else cleaner. Legally, it's also the option that makes the most sense. As I call out in my narrative, she'd likely have some stake in the original company and all of its assets. So as Fazbear
I don't think I'm definitely gonna watch that Rye Toast video, but I don't think I'll be able to watch it after the stream. My family's calling me.
As a company, I suspect a lot of it would return back to her. But there was one clue that really sold me on this particular direction, and that was this right here, in the Post-it room, the big lore central of Security Breach, a dinner table scene with the whole family, including the mother. And not only is she there, she is at the head of that table, the position of highest honor and responsibility. She is the one in charge, with William being relegated off to the side. That one scene shows that we have to include Mom in there somewhere, and the only place it makes sense for her to be is at the top. Now there is one
she's
big
really
flaw
the
with my
only after
interpretation of all this. The Ultimate Guide really seems to point out that the head of Fazbear doesn't want the glitch trap virus to spread. They call out one particular email in FNAF AR where the legal team calls a cease and desist to all action about scanning the circuit boards. And even in FNAF VR, we're told that the circuit boards get stolen back by the client, presumably once they realize what danger is on there, trying to stop glitch trap before he spreads and gets out of hand. Here's the problem with that, though.
We're going to the
Fazbear
pool,
doesn't
so
want Afton to rise again. Why'd they restart the company in the first place? Why'd they build over the FNAF 6 pizzeria? Why'd they go through an elaborate cover-up to
I'm definitely going to watch it,
an important part
and if you come to a later stream, I'll discuss it with you.
It would be the most inconsistent series of actions ever, but I did want to call attention to it since it seems to be the route that the official guide is trying to steer us towards. Moving on to minor point number 1, the Five Nights at Freddy's games were made by the Rogue Indie developer. Here's the thing, FNAF VR opens with this line.
That's why we have recreated many of these completely fictitious scenarios, lies that you've been fed over the last several years, into a hilarious VR game.
It's recreating the lies told to you by the indie developer, and since Help Wanted has direct recreations of FNAFs 1 through 3, it means the games must be part of the fabrications that this developer made up. Also, all of this is heavily implied in the story of the same name, Help Wanted and Tales of the Pizzaplex, hence FNAF 1 through 3, canon games within the lore of the series. Big swing number 2, the elephant, or ghost in the room, Charlie infecting the Pizzaplex. John from the channel FNAF has made some great findings about Charlie's influence over the Pizzaplex. The cables that looked like the striped arms of the puppet, the Nightmarion plushies that you find hidden across the Pizzaplex in weird places, the staff bots with creepy smiles and in your dreams written on the front. All of these things scream puppets. Plus, with the puppet mask not having tears in the blob, seems to imply that Charlie's spirit exists elsewhere. She is still in play, and she has an important role, especially in Gregory's Post-it room. The doors to the Post-it room in the game's code are called Charlie doors, and inside we see a bunch of lit up nightmare staff bot heads. Suspicious, to say the least. The channel ID Fantasy did a great theory looking at the Post-it notes, concluding that the crying child / Gregory isn't alone in this room, but rather might be communicating with someone. A spirit, Charlie. Charlie's spirit seems to have pulled a poltergeist. Instead of controlling one thing, she's affecting a lot of little details, foundational elements of the Pizzaplex. And this isn't the first time that we've seen this in the franchise either. We've seen spirits communicating with people through physical writing in the survival logbook. So we know that this is an established means of spirit inaccurate communication within this franchise. And I suspect that to some extent it might be Charlie's influence making Gregory go haywire.
Do I think Glamrock Freddy is possessed by Henry? Yes.
Biggest
Right now,
controversy in
yes.
recent FNAF history, Gregory as Patient 46, the evil robot mastermind. Now, I know when I first came out with this theory a year ago, people were mad. But here's the thing, you don't have to take my evidence points for it anymore. The recent Tales from the Pizzaplex story GGY basically goes and just outright proves it. In GGY, we find out about a boy named Gregory who's getting all the high scores in the Pizzaplex arcade machines. When therapists start to go missing, it's confirmed that GGY is the one that's working to bump them off. And when animatronics start getting corrupted by a mysterious glitch, GGY's letters are found inside the code. He even chooses the code name Dr. Rabbit for crying out loud. But obviously, by the time of security breach, Gregory is working against Burntrap, Vanessa, and the animatronics. Why? How? Well, it's not really clear. I tend to believe that something must have happened to cause him to either lose his memory or be reset in some way. Maybe it was Charlie talking to him in his post-it room. Maybe he hit his head. Maybe it was the connection that he made with Mike on stage in Glamrock Freddy. Not exactly sure, and I don't think we have enough clues to solve any of it yet. But it makes sense from a story perspective why he'd start off evil on Afton's side and then switch to trying to
Oh, wait, sorry. No, sorry. I think Glamrock Freddy is Michael, not Henry. There's so many people. Sorry. I think Glamrock Freddy is Michael. I don't think it'd be Henry. I think it's Michael.
Destroy him and not knowing who he is in security breach. And with that, my friends, I'm wrapping this thing up. Congratulations, we are on page 40. 22,000 words of FNAF, baby. Practically just wrote myself a Tales of the Pizzaplex short story. Have I answered everything? No. Does everything fit cleanly? No. But does it feel like the best and most cohesive narrative for all these characters that addresses most of the evidence we're given? Yeah. For me, honestly, it really does. And let's be honest with ourselves, the DLC will probably come out later this year and prove me completely wrong. It'll be the first time. Then comes the movie, whatever, my descent into madness continues. But regardless, I am so proud of this. This was a massive undertaking. And I'm so proud of our editors who have just destroyed the editing across all 4 of these installments. You guys are the best. Thank you for pushing through on 20+ minute uploads. You are unreal and your talent is unrivaled. I'm so lucky to work with you guys every single day. And like I mentioned before, keep an eye on the channel for an announcement regarding a talkback live stream with some special guests. Was I right? Was I wrong? I want to hear your feedback, so that one's coming up soon. And with that, my friends, we can finally rest. I can leave the demon to its demons with one final reminder that it was all just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
That was great. Okay, so yes, I will watch the Rightos video later. I have to go to the pool. But watch that live stream. Know that I will be watching it with you. I'm not going to be live streaming that because I feel like that'd be weird to do, to live stream a live stream. That just seems like stealing content, I'm going to be honest here. So, thank you so much for watching this stream. I hope you enjoyed watching the video with me, and I'll see